What a goal from Carlos Bocanegra. Lloyd will try a long hit. What a goal from Lloyd. This is spectacular. It's hit with no regard for humanity. Is this the moment for Shaqiri? Yes, it is. Switzerland and Shaqiri have scored in the 90th minute. That was worth the price of admission alone.
This is Soccer Matters
on ESPN 97.5 and 97.9 HD2.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm, DaspitLaw.com. From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
All right, welcome in, everybody. On the heels of Joe and Jeremy, we have got producer extraordinaire Brian McDonald hanging around. He's much healthier than the last time I saw him. Your voice sounds very good for radio, Brian, so glad you're feeling better.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. These kind of flus and stuff are a little bit tougher these days, I'm thinking. All right, Soccer Matters, ESPN 97.5 is on the air. By the way, tonight I am sporting, and I know the people down at Cactus Music would like this. So I have two great friends, Jim Siemens and Chris, and we've gone to a lot of Rolling Stones concerts together. Well, they went over to the final Ozzy Osbourne concert called Back to the Beginnings, and they brought me back this T-shirt. So if you're on YouTube and you're watching the show on YouTube, it's a pretty awesome T-shirt. I'm showing it off right now. And tonight we're playing a lot of rockers. We'll play one from Black Sabbath and Ozzy as well. But all the songs tonight are going to kind of be, a bit rebellish rock and roll tonight. So that's what we're doing. World Cup is only 125 days away, 122 days away from the opener here at Energy Stadium here in Houston. They will rename the stadium because of FIFA Houston Stadium. That match, the opener here in Houston, will feature World Cup winners 4 times, by the way, Germany. So we got the soccer culture of Germany coming here, one of the most passionate soccer nations on the planet. Then you got Curacao, the smallest country in the World Cup. We're going to be doing an interview with their goalkeeper, Eloy Room, in the very near future. So that's the opener in Houston. Then we have 6 matches to follow, including 2 in the knockout stages, a round of 32 and a round of 16. And we are probably going to get Brazil or Morocco here. I'm going to talk a little bit about Neymar tonight and if he's actually even going to be in the World Cup. But it's a safe bet you're going to get Brazil or Morocco here in the knockout stages. I am looking for you to help me out on this show tonight, all you great soccer fans that are tuning in at 713-780-3776. Had a little cataract surgery, so I want the power of the fan to weigh in here tonight. And we are going to get a great taste of Europe when it comes to the World Cup here in Houston. You got Germany, you got the Netherlands, we've got Portugal. I know I repeat this a lot, but the reason I repeat it a lot is because for those that are maybe newbies who don't know what's about to hit our shores here in June, it's good to put out a few reminders. There's going to be over 500,000 people coming here. There is going to be a big fan fest down in Edo. And we are all going to have a good time. By the way, there are going to be watch parties all over Houston. So for those that don't go down to the Fan Fest or don't take the Metro, by the way, I hope we get that cleaned up in time, out to the stadium, well, there are going to be watch parties all over Houston, Texas, in the suburbs. So in places like Sugar Land, which is a part of being a host city, Pearland, Galveston, Jersey Village with our great friends at Senate Avenue Brewing, where we're going to be live next Tuesday. There's going to be all these pockets of great places to watch games with great fan bases, with really interesting people, and they're like-minded, like all of you on the show. 713-780-3776. I will take people's thoughts on the upcoming World Cup in Houston. How do you feel about it? Yes, the tickets are very expensive. I don't think there's any question about that. And that led to some interaction in recent times where Tim Weah was asked a question. By the way, this has nothing to do with Tim Weah or anything that he has done wrong. But Tim Weah responded to a question about high ticket prices. Yeah, it's kind of a loaded question. Everybody knows that ticket prices are high. That's a whole nother discussion. We can get into that. 713-780-3776. But Mauricio Pochettino was asked about it in a press conference. And, he said something along the lines that, we don't need to be worried as players about ticket prices. We need to be focused on the task at hand. Those aren't the words he used. That's me paraphrasing. Okay, so this was simply a coach taking a moment to reboot and make a statement about focus on an upcoming World Cup that is going to be a seminal moment for the United States, an opportunity that's not going to come around again in a long time. With a good roster, with a coach that's got a little bit more of an autocratic nature to him. And you would not believe how many people missed that this was just a coach sending a message to his entire team through the media. Now, you can debate whether you like a coach to do something through the media or not. But he was asked the question, just like Tim Weah was, and he basically said, yeah, it's not up to us to worry about the ticket prices. So all of a sudden, I'm getting on Twitter all these, he's in bed with Gianni Infantino and he's with FIFA. And, I think you missed the moment here. Oh, what's he going to do next? Tell Tim Weah he can't buy a car or a house? He's not censoring the guy. He's taking a moment to remind his team that there is a task at hand, and it's getting closer and closer. What did I say? It's only 125 days away from the World Cup. And he's taking every moment he can to remind his team that they are on a mission. And that mission is only going to be accomplished with the collective. And for sure, he doesn't want people worrying about ticket prices and or really talking about it, quite frankly. And he's the coach. By the way, talk about ticket prices, you may not go to the World Cup. Let's follow the leader here. I like Pochettino. I liked him from the start. I was not ready to bash him. I know everybody had their takes on him. Even Bruce Arena said you can't have a foreign coach. All that kind of rhetoric. I think he's got a pretty tight-knit group right now. It seems like they're all on the same page. They got huge games coming up when it comes to friendlies with Belgium. Who else do they have? They've got Belgium. They got a bunch of really, really good games. They got Germany and Chicago. I'm missing one. Belgium, Spain, maybe. So they got the perfect 3 games, I think, heading into the World Cup. We've seen better performances, and he's going to be able to probably go a little deeper tactically in these 3 games. And we're going to need good games against that good competition. But, boy, that's great preparation as a host nation going into a World Cup. So I don't have any problem with what Mauricio Pochettino. You may. I don't. 713-780-3776. In fact, that's what I signed up for. I signed up for a coach, non-kumbaya, that wants to get it done, that wants to take us to a tournament. Now, again, you may believe in using the press or not to motivate. I mean, he was in a press conference. I thought it was a stroke of brilliance, personally. And I know a lot of coaches wouldn't do it that way. 713-780-3776. 713-780-3776 is the number. Do you agree with the way Mauricio Pochettino handled that or not? And I got a whole bunch of reaction to it. Let's see. I could read a few of them here. Let's see. I got to scroll back down a little bit because we had a lot of talk about the Dynamo Academy, too, which we can talk about tonight here. Wow. There's a lot of Academy stuff here. I got to get past all this. By the way, that's a hot topic, right? Talking about player development, Academy, players in Houston, our history of developing pros here, which, we're not seeing a lot of them get to the first team, but I don't want to get into that right now. So where are some of these? Here we go. Anyway, a lot of it was just around, Tim Weah can talk about what he wants. It's not going to affect anything. again, I think you just missed a manager, whether you agree in the way it was done or not, sending a message to his team that our focus is on playing football, our focus is on achievement, our focus is on competition, and our focus is on team and getting it done as a collective. And he's made that very, very clear. And you have seen in the last games that they played very well, you have seen a team that is unified, supporting each other. And if you don't have that kind of attitude, you're not going to make the World Cup roster, the final roster. 713-780-3776 is the number here tonight. Shout out to Senate Avenue Brewing, Slip Sliders, Cactus Music, Lamont Brands, Hugh O'Connor's Pub, legendary Nico's Greek and American Cafe, lssc.net. Thank you very much for all your support of this show. And again, next Tuesday we'll be live at Senate Avenue Brewing in Jersey Village, and looking forward to seeing you all on Tuesday night. I got one of the hats up here. I don't know if you can see it online at YouTube Soccer Matters or YouTube ESPN 97.5. So I got some big news coming out tomorrow. You'll see it on social media. I hope you're going to check it out. Again, I thank everybody for the wonderful, heartfelt support of this show, and I vow to keep the authentic soccer talk going. I am not a PR arm for anybody except my sponsors who keep me on the air. Additionally, if you want real soccer talk, I remind you, this is the place to come. There's a lot of people out there regurgitating press conferences. There's not as much opinion as I think we need in the sport, and that's that whole healthy pressure thing that I speak about constantly. So call in, give your opinion, agree, disagree. It is the lifeblood of the show, 713-780-3776. Suggestions, wants, desires, opinions. This is a big year. I want to hear from you because I also learn from a lot of you out there. Some of you I don't learn from, but a lot of you I do learn from. And I take everything you say very, very serious. So I hope you enjoyed the recent interview with Jay DeMerit, Jochen Sauer of Bayern Munich Youth Development. We bring it each and every week, internationally, nationally, and, of course, local. We will have on tonight, because it was Women's Sports Day yesterday internationally, and we are going to have on tonight the women's coach at Texas Tech, Tom Stone, who's seen it all. He's been around a long time. He's in my demographic, but we have seen the growth of women's soccer in an amazing way. So we're going to talk with Tom about that here tonight and some of the things going on in the college game. All right, let's start it off on the phone lines. Let's go to Thomas. Thomas, you open it up here tonight.
Good evening, sir. I appreciate you taking my call.
Hey, anytime. Thank you, Thomas.
So, I know we were talking. I'm Third Coast Tom, RG Chav on Twitter. We were talking earlier.
Oh, yeah,
talking about the
RG
Dynamo.
Chav.
I'd love to continue the conversation. You told me to call the show.
I absolutely did, and I'm very glad you did. So talk to me. You cut out, Thomas. Say it again.
I said I'd love to continue the conversation we had earlier.
All right, so let's continue it. So my statement is that the Houston Dynamo are not getting it done. So let me just give you my narrative of it, and then you take it because it's a lot easier than doing it through text, Thomas. So I appreciate you very much calling in, and that's why this is a radio show for platforms with people like yourself, who, by the way, I appreciate your opinion. Okay, so it's pretty clear the Dynamo aren't developing players for the full first team. In fact, they may not even want to do that, as far as we know. It may be just about having a two-team, putting kids from the academy there, but more importantly, putting players from South America there, and then allowing them to kind of nurture their way into the club and then get moved up to the first team, much like Mikael, much like Felipe Andrade. So the Dynamo may not even really be in the game of trying to produce Houston players. I'm not saying the whole team has to be Houston players. We have a history of developing soccer players for Major League Soccer, a lot of them. The part that bothers me a lot is this whole PR move of look at all our academy players playing, look at all our youth national team players, look at the pathway to the pros, and we're patting ourselves on the back. But nobody gets through to the first team in a real role of responsibility. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going to get Brazilian players. But for me, you are not community, as you claim, if you are not using some local players. Now, a lot of people out there, and I think you're going to agree with this, Thomas, you're going to say you don't really care because you just want to win. I care because the stadium's half empty all the time. I care because they count little against the salary cap. I care because I want to see Houston kids that love the game achieve and go places. So really that's kind of my Cliff Notes version of it. It can go deeper, but I think there is a little bit of false advertising going on. Thomas, you're up.
I don't think I would argue that. I think the way the club like tailors it makes it seem like, yeah, they're doing this to like make it more about the community. You're right about that 100%. I think the reason the stadium is empty is because they're not winning. I think winning cures all. I think if you look across the landscape, there's not going to be a ton of homegrown talent on winners. You go look at Miami. You go look at the Galaxy. You go look at LAFC. They're venturing out to get these players. Now, I think it's awesome.
Well, we're not LAFC. We know that.
You know, a young.
We're not LAFC.
Oh, 100%.
And by the way, all you need is one from a marketing standpoint to then show the rest of the kids in the academy that there is possibility. They don't see that now. They don't see that. And by the way, I'm going to call your all you got to do is win take incredibly naive, Thomas, because if you saw in 2023, it didn't change much with Hector Herrera. It didn't change much the following year. In fact, the data proved that out. It didn't change much in 2018 with Elise and Kyoto running like runaway trains. The attendance never changed. Attendance, yes, you have to win, but you have to score goals and play an attractive style of soccer. In addition, to have people with a vision in the front office and a big marketing arm. There's not enough marketing and promotion. Nobody knows who these Brazilian players are because they haven't been star built. Now, I hope they are this year. I don't think they can speak English. I don't know. But somehow you have to be able to do more than just win because just winning doesn't get it done. Okay, ball's back in your court.
I definitely think that you're right, that it's not just okay, it has to be more than just winning, but I think it has to be consistent winning. The years you mentioned, they're really flash in the pan type stuff.
Correct.
Where it's like, yeah, they were great for a moment, but it wasn't sustained. And if you look at teams like, and for me, I'm all the way across the board with all of my Houston teams. Mm-hmm. So if you go back and you look at the Astros, when they weren't winning, people didn't come into the building. And now this dynasty they're on, you're getting people in the building. Yeah. I think the Texans, when they weren't winning, people weren't in the building. So if you build a winner that's sustained, you get people in the building. If you light it up for 1 year and then you go away, well, for me, I'm a season ticket holder. So
can I jump back in for a second, Thomas? Could I jump back in? And I'm glad you mentioned you're a season ticket holder. This is a great conversation, by the way, and this is good radio. Let me just say this. Even bad teams in MLS, and I'm not saying I like the 2018 team. That was fun. And I love the 2023 team. And I will say that performance by Hector Herrera in that season was as good as any Dynamo player in history when it came to carrying a team, running a team, and organizing a team. But I will just say this. You have to score goals, and you also have to play an entertaining brand of soccer. But in this league, you have to have entertainment for people to come to the games. And if you're going to pass the ball back and forth and, you know, at the end of the day, your center backs have had the ball more than your skill players, that's not going to do it. So we're not in the community. We're not in the greatest of relationships with the youth community. There's so many things going on. Do you want to hang on and come back and continue the conversation, Thomas?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, stick with us. Let us get through a break, and then we'll start off with you can respond to what I just said, okay? All right, let's take a break. By the way, slip sliders down on bins. It's going to be right in the path of all the soccer fans going out to, it's still Energy Stadium. Until they change it and the World Cup starts, I'm calling it Energy Stadium. They've got all kinds of sliders down there. They got beef. The Shrimp Shack is my favorite. Backyard Burger, Swiss Miss. It is slip sliders down on bins. Get down there. These are, honestly, best sliders you're going to find in Houston. Slip sliders. Bins in the Museum District near Herman Park. We're going to come back with more from Thomas in a second.
ESPN 97.5. Listening to Soccer Matters
on ESPN 97.5 and 97.9 HD2.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm. From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
All right, that's Tomorrow's Dream, Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne. What a song. What a song. Cactus Music, it's where you get the best in vinyl and CDs. And you can pick up a lot of vinyl, including Black Sabbath. Down there. Welcome back to the show. Reminder, Senate Avenue Brewing next Tuesday. I hope Thomas can come. All right, we welcome you back to the show. Let me say one thing, Thomas, and then I'm handing it over to you. You made a really, really good point about consistency and the lack of it. So you would think if you spent $6 million on Hector Herrera, and I've said this till I'm blue in the face on this show, so I hope I'm not boring people. If you spent $6 million, you want to get everything out of your investment you possibly can. And that $6 million, I don't think we got the investment out of Herrera we needed to. And I'll tell you why. Because 2023 could have been the league MVP of the league. In fact, I voted for him league MVP. 2024, he wasn't as interested. And you can say, yeah, injuries. You get injured when you're not as interested. He should have had a surgery, I think, right after the season. And I think that was the year the Dynamo should have went out and got another high-profile player to complement him and take some pressure off him because he wasn't going to have that same season. But we never seem to be ascending. We're not a stock that's ascending. We have a little blip, like you said. 18 teams make the playoffs, so you're always going to make the playoffs. Even if you don't have a plan and a vision as a soccer club, you're going to every once in a while make the playoffs in Major League Soccer because that's the type of league it is. 18 out of 30 make it. And when you say, well, our goal is to make the playoffs, that's a weak goal. That's a sustainable, easy goal to reach. We should hear top 4 or home field advantage in the playoffs or top 2 or win the division. But you are absolutely right. There is no consistency, and the arrow is not going up on the graph. It just continues to flatline, and it just seems like each and every year we're back to the drawing board, throwing it at the wall and trying to make something happen. And if the Dynamo communicated better, maybe they'd be able to tell us that I'm really, really wrong here. All right, Thomas, you're up. Thomas, you there?
I spoke to it today. That they, yes, hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, you're there. You're there. Go.
I said totally agree with everything you just said. I think Pat spoke to it today that they really expect this team to get further in the playoffs than they have before.
Okay.
I think that their seats should be very warm, Pat and Asher, if this season does not turn out the way that they think it will because of the investment that they made financially that you spoke to that they needed to make more of. You're 100% right. Hector Herrera did not, by himself, was not enough. And you're seeing it now in the league that you really have to invest heavily to keep up with the Miamis and the LAFCs as much as you can. And I feel like this is a team that, for the first time in a long time, you're seeing the DPs that you kind of feel like you could see it come together along with a guy like Jack that I think, when the play is right, him and Bogusz will be able to score the goals you talk about. I'm an old school guy. I played soccer as a kid and as an adult, so I can understand and identify with like the build up and the possession game and not be bored, kind of like people are with baseball in a pitching duel. I feel like for the casual fan, you definitely need to do exactly what you're speaking to with giving them the flashy stuff, giving them the awe-inspiring goals, the things that you see on SportsCenter. So until we get that, like, you're going to have to, like, really just appreciate what they have if they can sustain the winning.
Yeah, and that's only part of it. That's the competitive side. I don't think we have the best of the best on the visionary side of the club. We don't have a face of the club outside of Pat Onstad. There's a lot of elements missing. And you addressed the competitive side nicely. I'm looking forward to seeing what Bogusz can do for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing how that complements Jack McGlynn. No question about it. But it's still all on paper right now. I don't know a lot about these Brazilian players. They all come with credentials, for sure. I don't know enough about them, but I do think you got to have a game that does have some tempo, that does get you behind opponents' defenses. I don't want to see teams playing in front of defenses. It gets boring. If a winger picks up a ball and he feels good about skinning two guys and going to goal, I want to see it happen once in a while. I don't want to see him put his foot on the ball, dribble back towards midfield, and recirculate it. That is the word of the day today, recirculate. All right, Thomas, anything else? I like your stuff. Anything else?
No, sir. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, wait a second before you go. I looked you up. You have a podcast, right?
Yes, sir, but it's not soccer related.
Okay, well, you shout your podcast out.
Yes, come check us out. We talk Texans. It's called The Bullpen. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Me and my co-host James Roy, we break down the Texans and how they're going to get it right and hopefully get further than the first round of the playoffs. We're hoping that they do better. And, come check us out.
All right. I like your take tonight. Thanks so much for calling in. I think it was good. It's a lot better than I hate the texting thing or the Twitter thing, even though I know I have to do it. Thank you, Thomas, very much.
Thank you, sir. See you Tuesday.
You got it. You got it. See you there. Yeah, so give it up to Thomas. He's got real thoughts and opinion on the Dynamo. Good stuff. And he's hopeful, which is good. And I like that. That was really good stuff from him. I really enjoyed that. 713-780-3776. Anybody think you can match that call from Thomas? All right. Alan Rojas. I had no idea who he is. Played high school at Cy Ridge. His high school coach reached out to me. He got a debut last night for Monterrey Rayados in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. He's a kid from Houston. Played for, I think, HTX. He played for Dynamo Development, maybe real young. And he played at Cy Ridge High School. And where else did he play? Another club called Mana, I think. So, look, you can say what you want. Rayados fans are mad. They didn't field a team that was going to win. They were using younger players. You can say whatever you want. That kid has just done something most kids will never do in a lifetime, is put on a Rayados jersey in an official game. So for everybody who wants to poo-poo that, I don't know much about him as a player. I never write young kids off, especially ones I've never seen. So good for him. Good for him. Now, on the other end of the scale, there's Paul Pogba. And I remember all my Manchester United fans that are friends telling me, oh, no, he's bought into United. I never believed he was. 32 years old. He won the World Cup. Remember, he had a 2-year ban. He tested positive for some form of drugs or enhancement stuff. And he's at Monaco. He's missed the last 9 games, 2 sub appearances. I think this guy threw his career away, which is very sad. So I just wanted to give you a little Paul Pogba update. All right, here we go. Chris, let's go to the phone lines. And Chris, what do you have tonight?
Hey, how's it going?
Very good, Chris. How are you?
I'm well. So I'm a casual soccer fan. Usually get into it during the World Cup. Really got into it with Welcome to Wrexham. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the
yes, I am. And that was a big deal in introducing people to soccer. Yes, I am.
It was. So my question is this. I don't want to take up too much of your show with this, but I was just wondering if you could just, break down how it works, the X's and O's, for lack of another term, of how. I listened to your show with the 2-part episode. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was talking about how he wanted to get Rooney, and his job was to disrupt and ruin reputation.
Yeah. Jada Merritt, who played in the World Cup in 2010, started all 4 games as a center back with the Gucci Onyewu next to him. Yeah, that was our recent interview. Did you like that interview?
It was fantastic. It gave me so much insight into the game and how the piece players, not the big big names,
right?
Guys, but the piece players that just do the dirty work and then the grind. And I don't know anything about that. I don't even know what a center back is. So I just would like just a brief breakdown of positions and what things are, and not just take up too much of your show, like I said, but just a breakdown of what each person does. Like I want to get into soccer, and it's just
So let me do I'll kind of do a 101, okay? Right? I think you pretty much understand what a goalkeeper does, right? Keep the ball out of the back of the net, command his penalty area. He's a big organizer. He's positioning players because he has a sight line that maybe others don't have, right? And, of course, he's got the ability to use his hands. All right, so you got different systems. Sure. Let's say it's a 4-back system. In a 4-back system, a lot of times the 2 outside backs, who are the widest guys, they are guys that are encouraged to go forward and get into the attack. They got to have big lungs. They got to go box to box. And these are guys that, from a fitness standpoint, are off the chains, right? They got to go up and back. They got to defend. They tuck in. Some of them now in the modern game, when the ball goes up the field, actually move into a central position in front of the 2 center backs. But I want to keep this fairly basic. 2 center backs are guys that are really protective. They're protecting a very important area of the field. They're generally going up, as you heard Jada Merritt say, they're generally going up against incredibly crafty, dangerous goal scorers. So their job, as Demerit said, is to take their reputation away, which is to really kind of, like a guy covering a guy in the NBA. Be a good one-on-one defender against them. But you have to work as a pair as well, which is important for me to say. Center backs don't work isolated. They play as a pair. They try not to concede a lot of space in between themselves. Now, in the modern game, much different than when I played, those guys have to be fleet of foot. So if your 2 outside backs are going forward and there's space there and the ball goes in there, they have to be able to move laterally and cover each other laterally and sort of move like a windshield wiper. Then you get into midfield. You generally have a player that's in front of them that protects them, is sort of a balancer and a controller. Then you'll have more, let's say it's a 3-man midfield. Then you'll have one that you call an 8, which kind of goes up and back. Now, some teams will play with 2 guys that sit there in front of the center backs. That's a little bit more cautious for me because it means there's one less player up the field, or one of the 2 can join in the attack a little bit more, or either. But somebody has to stay home to be protective. And then you have somebody above them that likely is more of a playmaker type. And then you've got two wide men up front. A lot of them are inverted wingers now, which means they cut inside a lot. And they'll come inside a lot in order to let the two outside backs get forward. And then you have generally a lone center forward, and those can come in a lot of varieties. They can be a guy that's fleet of foot, that's dangerous behind defenses. They can be a combination of that and the guy that comes back to the ball in midfield to try to pull the opposing center backs out and maybe be a part of the buildup. Or they can be a big, strong, powerful guy that's like a target man, that sometimes will kind of post up like an NBA center and post up on defenders and, ultimately will be in the penalty area where the ball is going to come if it's swung in from out wide. So that's a really basic way of maybe talking about some of these. Center backs in this modern game, different than Demerit's time and my time, because when I was listening to him describe a center back, I was thinking, man, that's exactly what I did, right? Break up plays, don't let a guy turn, deny him on the score sheet, win the ball, and give it to the Brazilian, right? That's what that's what my role is. So you kind of got that. Well, that's what Jay said. What Jay said that was very important was, and I think young kids need to know this at some point in their career as they get older, is that you at some point have to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. So in a case like me and even what he said, I was good at breaking plays up, reading the game, dealing with center forwards, winning the ball, and then giving it to, the Brazilian or the creative midfield players that would come towards me. Now, every once in a while I could hit a ball that turned lines, but in order for me to remain in the professional game, I had to not think I was Franz Beckenbauer or somebody like that and try all these difficult types of passes that were out of the range of what I was capable of doing. So you figure out what you're good at, and then you become a more effective and more valuable player to the coach. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does a lot. And without that interview, this would have been Chinese to me. But listening to him talking about how he was a center back and what he did and just disrupt. I love what he said. That you're right. That should be the tagline for every soccer caster everywhere. He ruined reputation.
Yeah, I love that. That was a great quote. You're going to hear some commentators start using that. Probably won't hear me doing it on a Dynamo game, but you might hear some other people doing it. Hey, that's a great phone call. What makes me really happy is that you, Chris, you really, you went through that interview and you enjoyed it. I thought it was a wonderful interview. I try to bring those good interviews. If you're up in Jersey Village on Tuesday, come by and see us. I got a Soccer Matters hat for you. I want to make you an even bigger fan, okay?
Sounds good. I'll do my best.
Hey, thanks so much for calling in tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for taking the call. Have a good one, Glenn.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you made it a good one. So great stuff there from Chris. Love that. All right. Quality craft beer at Senate Avenue Brewing, Jersey Village. It's a true local favorite, community-driven brew pub. By the way, we're going to hear from Andrew Mitcham tonight to close the show when we're going to make our Soccer Matters beer as well. But the craft beer culture is really cool. And there are a lot of similarities with soccer. They got a rotating list up there. They got IPAs, amber ales, darker malt forward styles. Come up Tuesday, drink some of it. If you wear a jersey, you're going to get in for free. They got a great kitchen menu, and on Tuesdays, as Brian McDonald knows, they have the Belogi Bowl, which is my favorite. What was your favorite up there? You got something else, though. Pizza?
Yeah, I've had a couple different things. Their pizza's pretty good, but I think my favorite is their crab sliders.
Ooh.
They have crab cake sliders, which are really good.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on for those.
I've had those a couple times. It's really good.
I'm going for those on Tuesday. Big tap room, plenty of TVs, Senate Avenue Brewing, 16,000 Dillard. They're going to want to get a lot of people out on Tuesday. We're going to have some influencers out there, like-minded people. I got Jan Luke from Team Houston. You want to come out and make connection about the World Cup and see how to be involved with it in business-type ways or volunteering or being a part of it. Come on out, all of you. It's a great spot. Senate Avenue Brewing, proud sponsors of Soccer Matters, Tuesday, 6 to 8 Central. I'll be out there at 5 o'clock. Come on out. I'm going to have T-shirts, hats, Soccer Matters. We take a break.
ESPN 97.5. Listening to Soccer Matters
on ESPN 97.5 and 97.9 HD2.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm. From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
All right, welcome back to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5. We're going to finish off this first hour in really, really good style with a great guest here coming up. Before we get to that, I just want to remind you about Nico's Greek and American Cafe. All right, 3 locations in Houston. You got the Woodlands, beautiful, big open space in the Woodlands. And you got Beltway and I-10. And then you got the original, my favorite, down on Montrose, where I used to go, and his mom and dad were in there. And I'd be coming back from coaching kids, and they'd keep the kitchen open and make me something to eat. Nico's Greek and American Cafe, the best in lamb shank, souvlaki, gyro, great chicken soups as well. Now, yesterday was National Girls and Women in Sports Day, and I was sitting around thinking about just how women's soccer has just grown beyond belief, from the quality of play to athleticism. Well, our next guest is the head coach of Texas Tech. He has a long history in the game. He's been a scout for U.S. Soccer. He's been an under-20 coach. He coached the Atlanta Beat in the WUSA. Was an excellent player himself. We go to Lubbock, and we go to Tom Stone. Tom, how are you?
Great, Glenn. Good to chat with you.
Yeah, I thought you'd be the perfect guest today on since yesterday was National Girls and Women in Sports Day, because you've really seen the women's game just accelerate and grow through your lens. Just let's get some of your initial thoughts on just where women's soccer has grown from your involvement in it.
Well, when you've been in it as long as we have, Glenn, you get to see the changes. I think what always strikes me in these conversations is that when you're in it, even 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you think that was the greatest time ever. We couldn't believe how much youth soccer had come along in the late 80s, early 90s, all the way through the beginning of the 2000s. And it's just obviously exploded on another level. Not all the levels that people are fond of, but as far as its size and expertise and the number of players that we're producing. And then, when we played in college and then when we played professionally, that seemed like a golden era of things that were growing and incredible opportunities. But when you fast forward to today, I mean, the last 10 years in the women's game globally, it has just exploded. And there's, we could do an entire show on just why that is, but the European clubs investing and developing teams and putting their money and their brand and their uniform, their kit, behind it. And then, of course, here in the U.S., we had the first major league women's pro soccer league. You mentioned it, the WSA. And for people that are too young to remember when that had its heyday, just imagine right now your favorite 2 French players, your favorite 2 or 3 Brazilians, your favorite Chinese players, Japanese players, German players, Swedish players, American players, all the best American players. Every one of those legends, Marta, Cece, everybody, not Marta, Cece and that whole group of Brazilians, they were all in that league. And imagine that came on the heels of the 99 World Cup, which many, claim that launched not only women's sport, but women's soccer, into the stratosphere in terms of awareness. 93,000 in the Rose Bowl, 40 million on TV. Brandy Chastain with the winning penalty takes her shirt off. Nike puts a bigger logo on when they reprint it. And, the rest is history. They're on Good Morning America and every other talk show. And then everybody wanted to be a ponytailed hooligan. That really was a launching pad. And then the Pro League came after it. And all of the legends of the game at that time were in that league, which is incredible. So, yeah, the last 10 years, it's gone to even new levels. You look at the NWSL and what it's been able to do. The leagues around the world are functioning at a high level. So it's a great time to be in the women's game right now. But I kind of felt that way the whole journey. Every change, every 5 years, I thought, God, I'm so lucky to be coaching in something that's full of great women, great athletes, tremendous thinkers of the game, and then watching the game grow on the shoulders of all the efforts of those 99ers and everyone else that's come in between. It's been a great ride.
Listen, you have, and I'm, this is in all truth. You have contributed to the women's game in such a big way, and so many women have, but also a lot of men like yourselves committed fully to the women's game because you loved it so much. You love the quality of the players. You love coaching. You've taken it to new heights and new depths, and not depths, but to new heights, and have been such a big part of it. I want to go back to something you said, though. The big brands getting involved now. Now we got competition for players overseas. We got some U.S. players that want to go overseas because it might round their game out in a different way. You got players overseas that want to come to America. This is all healthy. Salaries are going to grow, and we're going to see these brands help to push the envelope, right?
Yeah, there's no question. And they know how to do it, right? I mean, they have hundreds of years of professional soccer expertise, and they know how to build a club. And whereas, I think the owners of women's pro soccer here in America have took it in the wallet for quite a while before they started seeing the crowds that we're getting in some of these cities. And, I predict Denver is going to be the next great franchise because of who they hired and their homegrown approach, and the city of Denver, which is just in love with soccer in general, and certainly on the women's side. So, but the bigger brands around the world, they got behind it, and then it became way more popular socially. You talk to some of the older English pro players, and they'll tell you that, when they had kids, their daughters were part of the elite because these guys were making, big money. They didn't play soccer. It wasn't for over here. It's always been a middle to upper class. Unfortunately, it's been a middle to upper class sport for many, many years. And over there, those players didn't play, but now it's cool. And now you're making good money. And now you can be good enough to get an education from a U.S. university or somewhere else if you choose to go that route first. And it's just so widely acceptable all over Europe specifically that everyone's playing. And once that happened, it certainly lit a fuse around the world. And, of course, it's been like that over here for quite some time.
Very, very exciting. We're talking to Tom Stone. By the way, a little note on Tom Stone. Scored the lone goal in the NCAA National Championship 1986 against Akron. So just a reminder, we got a Duke University Blue Devil on here who scored a game winner in a national championship game. That's kind of rarefied air. All right, let's talk a little Texas Tech and your program, and maybe how the game has changed a bit for you as a coach with the portal. I mean, you're seeing it all through the college game in your lens.
Yeah, speaking of change, right, the whole college athletic landscape is tilted. Football and basketball have always been the drivers, and they are now more than ever because you need to be successful in those areas to keep athletics cooking in many ways. And so we're all excited for those changes, for those sports, those athletes. And it's, there's more than a trickle down into women's soccer because it's such a popular, collegiate sport as well, that we're seeing those changes also. The portal has a lot of pros and a lot of cons. The cons really are that we may be losing a generation of players that want to grind it out with development on the forefront and opportunity not immediately realized, and graduating the player that they fully could have become because it's so easy to go. And we're seeing players, I think, jumping around in some cases because they don't play as much as they thought they should have as a freshman on a top 5 team in the country, fill in the blank team. And so they go somewhere else. And I think that's a con, but it's also an unintended consequence. Like no one said, oh, that'll be a good thing. Because the other side of it is maybe it wasn't a fit. maybe the coaching staff and the player aren't a fit stylistically. Maybe the education they wanted they weren't getting. Maybe in the area of the country they were at, they didn't love it as much as they thought they would, right? So now, instead of it being difficult to move, and instead of it being really a challenge to get somewhere else, it was really tough before. If you think about the transfer rules, you could be outlawed by your coach or the athletic department for in-conference transfers, or they could just say, yeah, you can't go anywhere in the Big 12, and you can't go to Duke. I mean, they were allowed to do that. We were allowed to do that back in the day. So the pro of it is the movement allows, hopefully, players to get to a landing spot where they fit. And with early recruiting and players, female players changing from sophomore to junior to senior year, and programs growing or crashing, these kids commit fairly early, right? It's a year and a half before they're coming to school that they make their commitment. They sign in November. They don't have to return. They don't have to show up till September of the next year. So I think that there are a lot of pros to it also. So everyone who says it's terrible isn't taking into consideration that this freedom is not a terrible thing. But there are instances where I think it's potentially creating a culture of move on.
And what I worry about, Tom, is that, if the littlest thing doesn't go right, I'm jumping into the portal, and then I don't have the coach-player relationship, that is reality sometimes, right? Like, and that kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like a get-out-of-jail card free. Instead of confronting the issue and hanging in there and working with the coach, and that also takes away a little bit of your ability to nurture and teach and mentor, I would think, from the outside.
Well, you're right. It takes some of the joy out of it for sure when you live in this environment that we're in from that standpoint. But I think that the number of players that will have played at one university may go down.
Yeah.
Well, it is going to go down. It is down now. But the number of players that if they pick the right coaching staff, they pick the right university, and they pick the right team on the front end, those that have played for 4 years, and maybe their freshman year was a role player. Maybe their sophomore year they were the first one off the bench, and maybe as a junior they were a captain and a 90-minute player, same thing as a senior. Those players generally have an additional benefit associated with their experience that you just described, because those coaches who feel that this is a 4-year player, the investment is nonstop. It's constant in their game. And the ones that want that investment and want to meet you halfway, I think they have the best chance at a long future. Look, Trinity Rodman could have gone to 5 colleges in 5 years and she was going to be a superstar. There are outliers that it just doesn't matter. That's how good she is. And, Lindsey Horan, maiden name,
yep.
Went to France at 15, and it was really difficult, but grind through, and, one of the best players in the world. By the way, if you ever met her, I've only have briefly, one of the seemingly best humans to be a leader on the women's national team of any country, anytime, anywhere. She's just a wonderful person from my limited experience. So, for her, that wasn't the route. But just to your point, I think there is a culture of move on when there's a little pushback. And any great athlete, I had this exercise one day with our team 4 or 5 years ago. I said, raise your hand and tell me your favorite athlete. And I was kind of praying on the inside they wouldn't say somebody I didn't know their history, but most of the names were people that I had remembered and knew their story. And after about 10 of them told me their favorite athlete of all time, we went through and told the stories quickly about the adversity that each one of them had. And, of course, someone said Michael, so that was easy. He got cut from his sophomore basketball team. But these are examples, right? So if we have all these heroes, they're the best women players ever, and they dealt with, I think Brandy Chastain had 7 knee surgeries. If you deal with their adversity and see where it made them, how it molded them, you got to embrace adversity, unless it's the kind that we would all agree, you know what, that school probably isn't for you. And we could fill in the blank with a million of those examples. But if it's just getting pushed, if it's just challenging for playing time, if it's just working on your game so you can beat out the player that's in front of you, that's what makes you. And that's what's made most of the best athletes in the world at any sport.
Tom, I want to thank you. We're up on a hard break. Great stuff. By the way, Texas Tech has got a tremendous program. Of course, they have players from Texas on it as well. Tom has had an outstanding career as a coach at every level in the U.S. and has a lot more in front of him. Tom, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Glenn. Love the show.
Yep, thank you. That's Tom Stone, head coach of Texas Tech. This is one of my favorite Alice Cooper songs. By the way, he had a lot of players that go pro as well. But it is different for the coaches now. You remember Janine Becky of the Canadian national team? Jaylene Hinkle. These are all names that played. Victoria Essen that played at Texas Tech. Great program up there. So there you go. Tom Stone. This is called Desperado. Alice Cooper, who, by the way, turned 78 yesterday. I'll tell you what. You see him in concert, you don't think you're watching a 78-year-old, especially his voice. Of course, he's got all that makeup on, Brian. All right, we'll take a break. We're going to come back. Hour number 2. We're going to talk about the Munich Air Disaster. It's the anniversary. We're going to talk a little more Jay DeMerit. I got some Sir Matt Busby, the legendary Man U coach, some audio, and then we're going to talk about the big Brazilian Supercopa. Let's take a break.
Deadly, and when it's done, you're as stiff as my smoking barrel. You're as dead as a desert night.
Houston's independent voice for sports, ESPN 97.5.
Soccer Matters.
Quick shot, score! The U.S. with Dempsey.
For Fabregas, who looks for Iniesta, who's onside. Spain score. Entonces el centro, remate de gol. Gol de oro. Gol de oro. Gol de Oribe. Gol.
This is Soccer Matters
On ESPN 97.5 and the ESPN Houston app.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm, DaspitLaw.com. From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
All right, welcome back to hour number 2 of Soccer Matters, ESPN 97.5, presented by John Daspit and the Daspit Law Firm. I do want to mention John and his firm. They're personal injury attorneys. They're going to work for you 24/7, nights and weekends. Nobody wants to get in an accident. You might get in a car, boat, motorcycle. If you do, the Daspit Law Firm is the only firm for you. Personal injury attorneys, 713-CALL-NOW, 713-CALL-NOW. DaspitLaw.com is the number. And listen, anchor sponsor, they've been keeping us on the air. We're going to have so much stuff going on. By the way, something's going to drop tomorrow. I think you're going to be really excited about that we're going to keep doing. And, you know, we're going to kind of we're kind of rebels on this show here because we're the only ones we're really giving any real opinion. Great call from Thomas tonight. Great call from Chris. 713-780-3776 is the number. We're unbridled here. We're not towing the party line. We're going to have a real opinion. And guess what? It's just our opinion. Doesn't mean it's always right. And that was a great call with the 2 callers here tonight, and 2 very different callers that led to good radio. All right, Tom Stone, excellent there, talking about the women's game. The portal is crazy. Having called a lot of ACC women's games last year and in the past national championships, you don't see anything like now. When you're putting your boards together to do those games, you're realizing that some of these kids have been at 3 different colleges. And you can, you don't like the coach or you didn't play enough. Instead of having to hang in there and work a relationship out with the coach, just put yourself in the portal. You gone. That's why I like Kelvin Sampson. He's a no-nonsense guy at U of H, right? I love that. I think that's what young men need for sure. It's really, I think coaches are really dealing with players from a management standpoint very, very differently now. I mean, who's to say if there's a player that's a coach is thinking is on the edge and is one of their better players and wants to jump in the portal, that doesn't affect the way they have a relationship at the end of a season as far as the way they, who knows? I don't know, but I do know it does. I think there are pros and cons to it, like Tom said. All right, Monday Night Football, next Monday, Italian Cultural Center, 1990 World Cup. You remember I had Bruce Murray on the show. Really interesting interview. Tuesday. I want to pack it out for Andrew Mitcham, and he's coming up. He's a local business, small business. I know it's Tuesday night, but come on out, 290 Senate Avenue. T-shirts, hats. You wear a jersey. First craft beer is free. 16,000 Dillard. It's Senate Avenue Brewing, and you come in, you got the shiny vats there where they make all their brews, and they got every type of beer you would like there. Food is excellent. Big patio. And I guess it's going to be really warming up, right, Brian? I think it's supposed to really warm up.
I'm no weatherman, but it can't get colder.
Yeah. Well, I heard it was going to be like 70 tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. So it'll be nice up there. It'll be fun. I'd like to meet some of you in person if you make it out. So there you go. Senate Avenue Brewing next Tuesday. And then next Thursday, another Monday Night Football. But we're doing it Thursday because we have the opportunity to do it at the Museum of Fine Arts. The real driving force behind it is the artist Batiri. And I'm going to be there to kind of be his wingman a little bit and talk about the World Cups and what they meant at that time and how it kind of dovetailed into us getting Major League Soccer. 713-780-3776. Somebody got something to say tonight? 713-780-3776 is the number. Okay. We've all heard in the history of sports, plane crashes and losing teams and athletes and all, I always remember the Marshall football team. Brian, any of them come to your mind that you remember these horribly tragic moments?
Yeah, Marshall, I think, is definitely the one that would pop to my head first if you asked that question.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, there's been some other ones, obviously, not in sports, but the one that took down the night the music died. All the musicians.
Oh, yeah.
I'm forgetting some of the names now.
We lost Buddy Holly.
Yeah, there was 4 or 5, I believe.
Big Bopper.
Didn't Stevie Ray Vaughan die in a helicopter crash?
Stevie Ray did. You had the guy from Montgomery Gentry, the country band. He died in one. You had a famous Brazilian flight that was over the mountains in South America with one of the Brazilian pro teams, and basically the lights went out. There was no noise. The plane was just gliding through the air. One player survived. Everybody was mangled. Well, on February 6, 1958, Manchester United, and this was a time when teams were beginning to travel now more for European competition in the European Cup. They were returning from Belgrade, former Yugoslavia. They had played Red Star, famous team. They stopped in Munich to refuel because the plane didn't have the capacity with the fuel to make it without a stop. They had 2 aborted takeoff attempts. There was, I think, slush and rough conditions. The aircraft then went for a 3rd attempt in winter conditions. They said there was a lot of slush on the runway, which prevented the proper acceleration. And then the plane crashed in a perimeter fence. It hit a house, and it hit a fuel truck. 23 people were killed, 8 United players, and I'm going to mention some of them because this was one of the youngest, most talented teams in Europe at the time. 3 club officials, 8 journalists, 2 crew members, a lot of people seriously injured. The guys who died, and by the way, the anniversary, I believe the exact date is tomorrow. Roger Byrne, the captain, Jeff Bent, Eddie Coleman, Mark Jones, David Pegg, Tommy Taylor, Billy Whelan, and then Duncan Edwards survived for another 15 days, and then he died from his injuries at 21. Was considered one of the top players in the world at the time, even at 21. Survivors were players like Bobby Charlton, Bill Folks, who coached in the North American Soccer League here in America with Chicago, Harry Gregg, Dennis Violet, one of the all-time leading goal scorers, who was a coach of the Jacksonville team men in the ASL when I was playing, and I got to meet him. He actually drafted my brother with the Washington Diplomats as a goalkeeper. But I knew the whole story of him surviving It's like body parts were hanging from tree limbs. Harry Gregg, the goalkeeper, was pulling people out of the plane. I don't even know how that happens. Oh, from rock music, Lynyrd Skynyrd, right? But anyway, this is a significant moment, and it is such a large part of the makeup of Manchester United. So every year there's an anniversary. I think if you go in the stadium that Bayern Munich plays in, there's a plaque that commemorates this. And it's a tragedy that it does become a part of an identity, I think. It has to. It's so tragic, and it's unforgettable. And it's not just the quality of the young people that died and the players that died from a soccer standpoint, but it's also, their lives were taken. They didn't get to do a lot of things. There was a phrase called the Flowers of Manchester, which became synonymous with the remembrance of the team. Now, I learned about this a lot deeper when I went over to Manchester United, and you've heard me mention on this show many, many times a gentleman named Tom Clare, who is an author, historian, and to hear him talk about this and look at his face and see how pained he was and how it upset him was pretty remarkable. So they had to rebuild the team under Matt Busby and Jimmy Murphy, and they did, and they went on to great success again. But I want to pull some sound here because Duncan Edwards was a player that Tom Clare, by the way, it was his favorite player. He used to tell me stories. He'd drive up to the stadium on his bicycle, park the bicycle, sign autographs, go in and play in front of 50,000, leave his bicycle leaning against the stadium. Nobody would touch it. Play the game, score goals, come back, ride his bike down the street to his apartment. Really cool stuff. But here is, this is Bobby Charlton before his passing talking about the legendary Duncan Edwards.
Tell me what made Duncan Edwards such an exceptional player.
Well, Duncan Edwards was 1 year. He was actually a little after the first introduction of the Busby Babes. He was a year older than me. I came in 1953. Duncan Edwards came in 1952, and Jimmy Murphy, the then assistant manager and the coach here at Old Trafford, picked me up at the station and took me to my digs, and he was telling me all about. All he ever mentioned was one player. He says, we've got this young player, Duncan Edwards, who's a wonderful ability, right foot, left foot, short passing, long passing, great control, fast, good in the air. As an enthusiasm, wants to score goals. He'll be the last man behind it to defend. He says he's a sensational player. And I couldn't believe anybody could be that good, because I thought to myself, well, I'm a schoolboy international, I don't think anybody can be as good as that, but he was, and I don't think I've ever been more impressed with any young player ever than with Duncan Edwards. He was physically big, and he had this presence, and he had this confidence that he knew he was a great player, and he knew what was expected of him, and he would run the whole show. He would defend, he would create, and he would score. He was the total footballer. And any world team that I ever asked to select these days, I always include Duncan Edwards, because he died very prematurely, obviously, at the Munich air crash. But he had, in that short period of time, created a name and a reputation that meant he would have been England's prime player for the next 10, 20 years even. He was just a wonderful, wonderful talent.
Wow, incredible testimony there from Sir Bobby Charlton on Duncan Edwards, who perished in the plane crash 15 days after he was hospitalized. He couldn't pull through. Now, here's the manager, Sir Matt Busby, who survived this. And here he is speaking.
Well, I was in the mind when I was ill in hospital at the time in Munich. Each time I go around for the first week or two, I wanted more or less to die. I knew something terrible had happened. I knew that. With fleeting glimpses, I remember me lying just inside, with all these sort of chairs and bodies all over the place. And I remember the doctor saying something about, this one has died. And I knew it was, eventually I think it was Frank Swift. But with this, I felt each time I come round I didn't want to live, I wanted to die. And this went on for 2 weeks. And eventually one day, when I got to know the extent of the thing, my wife came in and I said, I don't want to go back to this. She said, well, I have a feeling that these lads would want you to go back. Mm-hmm. So it started a little jam thereafter, and probably each day I started thinking. I thought, well, yes, I think I'll go back.
Pretty amazing stuff. And Sir Matt and Jimmy Murphy rebuilt the team, and that became a big part of the whole lore of Manchester United. And I believe it's tomorrow is the actual anniversary. Now, Tom Clare, my friend who was the author, we lost him to cancer. Wonderful gentleman. His wife, Cheryl, they would go over every year to the service that took place in Munich. And, the honoring and the remembrance. That's some pretty heavy stuff right there. This is pretty heavy from the musical standpoint. This is the Sex Pistols. It's called Pretty Vacant. Well, South America's CONMEBOL is going to invite MLS and Liga MX to compete in the Copa Libertadores starting in 2027. 2 spots per confederation. Would you be into that? 713-780-3776, 713-780-3776. Hugh O'Connor's Pub, I-10, and the Marquee Entertainment Center. Great beer and whiskey offerings, home of the Liverpool Supporters Group. It is Hugh O'Connor's, I-10, and the Marquee Entertainment Center. By the way, if you are a part of the Supporters Group and you want to be a part of the panel on Tuesday out at Senate Avenue Brewing, get in contact with me. You can find me on social media pretty easily because I want to get some differing opinions out there about supporters groups. And, we get on air and have some fun on the panel, okay? So, supporters groups, I'm waving some of you guys in for next Tuesday night to be a part of the show, okay? Yeah, we're kind of rebels tonight here. Right, Brian? Tough guys, right? We got a leather jacket, no motorcycle. All right, we'll take a break.
ESPN
97.5.
Get your motor running, head out on the highway, looking for adventure in whatever comes our way.
You're listening to Soccer Matters
On ESPN 97.5 and 97.9 HD2.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm. From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
Steppenwolf. How are these guys not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I mean, they've got 2 of the best rock anthems ever.
They go in on this song alone.
Yeah, easily.
I mean, come on. Coined the word heavy metal thunder. John Kay emigrated with his mom from Prussia into Canada and then down to the U.S. He had a great guitar player. I think his name was Michael Monarch. And he brought their sound on the early albums. And this guy just left and kind of became a recluse. I saw he was like playing some bars down in Florida, but he left Steppenwolf. But what a song. Yeah, fantastic. Magic Carpet Ride, The Pusher, Monster, Ride With Me, Baby. That's Ride With Me. Amazing song. Pusher's a very haunting song. It's actually an anti-drug song. All right. So I'm sure that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame heard me, and we'll see that Steppenwolf will get in on the next ticket. That's the power of Soccer Matters here on ESPN 97.5. Okay, Cristiano Ronaldo, who we're going to get here with Portugal a couple times, maybe 3 times, but for sure 2. I don't know where this lies right now, but he was boycotting a Second Street League game with his team Al Nassr over in Saudi Arabia. By the way, he makes $671 million, I think, a year. I don't know, it's like $500,000 a day or some crazy number. He's upset because they have not bought better players and very frustrated with what's going on there. Yeah, he has offers definitely to leave. He's got more followers, I think, on Instagram than anybody in the world. They expect Ronaldo to play, said the Saudi officials, to end his strike and play against Al Ittihad on Friday. So there you go. Things are not fun in Saudi Arabia, despite all the money that Ronaldo's making. Now, we hear things like this, which I don't think is ever going to happen. Newell's Old Boys is where Lionel Messi grew up playing in Argentina. I don't doubt that he would want to go back and play for his club, because I see that a lot. There's a lot of that in South America where players, like Angel Di Maria went back to Rosario Central. They go back as almost like a thank you, and they want to go back to their roots. And, it says that Newell's Old Boys, which was Messi's club as a little kid, are trying to work on bringing him back. I don't even know how he could live in Argentina. I mean, how could he couldn't even walk the street. I mean, not that he can anywhere else, but I think it would be a lot more difficult down there. I don't know. It would be probably a really scary security thing. You heard Tom Stone in the early interview talk about the new expansion team in the NWSL, the Denver Summit. They have 40,000 tickets sold to their home opener in 2026. So they're going to break the record that Bay FC had for an opener. There'll be a lot of excitement there. And then last night or earlier in the week, you might have seen San Diego FC just put a beat down on Coco Carrasquilla and Unam Pumas 4-1. San Diego plays an attractive style of soccer. They got a problem there with, don't say it wrong, you got to say Chucky Lozano does not want to leave, and coach doesn't want him on the team, Mike Ivaras. So they got a little bit of an issue there with that. We'll see how that all ultimately is going to play out. So we had on Sunday the amazing passion of the Brazilian Supercopa between Corinthians and Flamengo. Now, here are the 2 goals. Gabriel Paulista for Corinthians.
Con Mateuzinho desde ahí, la va a mandar, centro, cabezazo, ¿quién le pega el impacto? ¡Gol! ¡De Corinthians!
And then they would get a second from Yuri Alberto.
Acá Yuri Alberto para matarla, levanta Yuri Alberto. ¡Gol! No me diga, oigan el grito de gol. Regrese. Vuelva rápido.
Goal would stand. They would win 2-0. Huge, passionate crowd. Like I say, test out some of the South American football that you can see, because it's some pretty cool stuff. And it's, if you compare it to like the Premier League where it's slick, it's polished, this has got an edge to it, and the talent is ridiculous. talent is ridiculous. Juventus got beat 3-0 today by Atalanta in the Coppa Italia. I'm trying to see if Weston McKennie played in that. Weston McKennie's on fire right now. I would think he might have gotten a little bit of a break. No, he didn't get a break. He actually started Weston McKennie. And he played the full 90 minutes. So there you go. He's getting himself in shape. The U.S. is going to need him. This is Trent Reznor. Everybody remembers this band. All right, so again, reminders. Tuesday, Soccer Matters ESPN 97.5 live from Senate Avenue Brewing. Really want to see a good turnout up there. We want to support the local business. This is a pretty radical song. Head Like a Hole. Great song. Industrial. By the way, last segment I wore the Soccer Matters hats. I know they've gotten really popular, so hit up LamontBrands.com for the hats and T-shirts. A lot of really exciting things going on in the future. Okay, Monday, Italian Cultural Center, 1990 World Cup film, FIFA. Thursday, over at the Museum of Fine Arts. I'll see everybody at those events. That will be the 94 World Cup, which was the World Cup that got us Major League Soccer. All right, let's take a break. Soccer Matters, ESPN 97.5, Daspit Law Firm. Andrew Mitcham coming up of Senate Avenue Brewing.
You're listening to ESPN 97.5. Soccer Matters
on ESPN 97.5 and 97.9 HD2.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm. From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
All right, welcome back to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5. As we continue on, hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. I do want to remind you, you can get the podcast of this show at Spotify, Apple, then get it right here at ESPN975.com. So don't forget those places to get it. By the way, I continue to remind you, get over to YouTube and Soccer Matters. Sign up. It's free. A lot of good information over there. The show streams live there when it's on. And also you can get the full shows and then clips from a lot of the different shows and interesting interviews like Jada Merritt or Jochen Sauer, the Bayern Munich youth development director who we had on recently. So a lot of good stuff over there. All right. One of the great sponsors of this show, and we're going to be watching a lot of World Cup out at Senate Avenue Brewing this summer. We do want to remind you that this coming Tuesday, in a matter of days, we will have a very big show, and it'll be another one of our live shows on Tuesday night, the 10th of February, up at Senate Avenue Brewing, 16,000 Dillard in Jersey Village. And we're looking forward to everybody coming out there. We got Ryan Pratt, the head coach of Houston Christian University. They got in the NCAA playoffs. We got supporters groups coming, Surge, Liverpool, working on a couple more of those that will be coming up. We're going to talk about the supporters culture. And then we're going to talk about sort of getting on board for the World Cup from a business perspective and a networking perspective with Team Houston's Jean-Luc Blackburn. So a lot of different stuff going on, more guests to be added, free T-shirts, hats. And I will have this confirmed in a second here. But I think if you wear a jersey, you can get a free craft beer. So wear that jersey, your favorite jersey. on Tuesday the 10th out at Senate Avenue Brewing. The owner, the brewmaster, they call him the mayor. He is Andrew Mitcham. He joins us now. Andrew, how are you?
Doing well, Glenn. Thanks for having me on again.
All right. That was a mouthful, but I'm excited for Tuesday. I just love the live show. Just from your perspective, how have you enjoyed the live shows so far at your place when we kind of get a real good soccer element going out at Senate Avenue Brewing?
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, Glenn. Not just for your show being there. A lot of times I can't watch all the soccer matches of the week, but I love catching up. You do a great recap on every show of what some of the major soccer games that happened in the past week. So it's nice to hear all the storylines I may have missed. But in person, it sounds great. Get to see you. And then it's also great to rub elbows with all the other supporters in Houston. It's a great fan culture. And so getting to know people, getting to network a little bit, know what their soccer story is about, how they got into soccer, how they got into the teams that they're supporting. It's just really fun conversations to have. And of course, over craft beer and great food. So it's just a really fun time. So come on out this Tuesday.
Yeah, we're going to get into the craft beer because I got some interesting questions for you along the way. That, because that is a culture in itself.
Absolutely.
Some of your thoughts just on the World Cup and the fact that we're having it here. I mean, you and I know, everybody knows that there's tremendous amounts of soccer fans out in the suburbs. They're going to be looking for places to watch the game, like at Senate Avenue Brewing. Maybe some overall thoughts from your perspective on a soccer culture that's all over the city.
Well, Fox released their broadcast schedule, so we kind of have our schedule now. We've looked over it. We're really looking forward to hosting most of those games live here with supporters. And so, the fact that it's at a great time zone now, it's in the U.S., it's in Mexico, it's in Canada. We get it, at a reasonable hour here. That'll be great for businesses in Houston. I'm looking forward to all the fun. All the visitors that are going to be flying into Houston, some great supporters groups, some great nations that are going to be playing here. Those 7 games are going to be huge. And they'll be here not just for those games, but for, they want to go watch, games, not maybe go to Edo every single time or go to NRG every time or Harris County Stadium every time. But, finding a comfortable spot in the suburbs that's not too crazy busy, elbow to elbow, packed in too tight, where you can bring your kids, you can bring your dog on the patio. Have great food, great beer. We offer an alternative to that crowded, packed, sweaty, because it's going to be in the summertime in Houston. We have an air-conditioned tap room, shaded patio. So I think it's going to be a good way for a lot of businesses who latch on to market their spaces for the World Cup and for soccer going forward. I think it's going to be a huge step forward for soccer in America.
Yeah, I honestly believe the suburbs are going to do incredible business. I think your place is going to do great business. I
really hope so. Yeah,
they're going to be destinations because, first of all, not everybody's going to want to go down into Edo. Like you said, families are going to want to be. If you got 4 kids, that may not be exactly where you want to go, or maybe it will be, but it's only going to hold 7,500 people. It's only going to be an hour and a half before and after. So people are going to have places to go, and some are going to maybe want to go down there one day, but the other part of the World Cup, they're going to remain out in the suburbs and going to really look for alternative watch party sites like Senate Avenue Brewing.
I think you're spot on. I think people are going to look for that alternative. Maybe they go down to Edo or the stadium a couple times to get that real once-in-a-lifetime experience of the World Cup, but maybe not every single day. So any other days that you're not making the trek down there, we're going to be open. Check our Facebook for all the information. We're going to post every single week what watch parties we're going to have. But we're really easy to get to. Fantastic parking. Big TVs. We're doing a new sound system in the brewery, in the tap room in the next couple of weeks. So we'll have the audio on for all the major games, especially the U.S. men's national team games. We'll have the audio on. It's going to be a really fun time to showcase what we do here at the brewery.
All right. So your craft beer is award winning. I've seen a lot of the awards and I've kind of, since you and me have partnered together, I like to know who I'm partnering with. And, I see all the things you're doing in the craft brewing culture. And I find it very cool. It's like I once went up to MotoGP, right? Mm-hmm. And I just saw this whole motorcycle culture. And I just thought it was so cool. And the different brands and the bikes and how knowledgeable these people are. I see you collaborating like with a lot of people in the craft brewing industry. Just kind of tell me about the culture, and it might have some parallels with soccer, right?
I think there are parallels there. I mean, the soccer culture is very tight knit. It's a small world. If you get into it, you get in with a supporters group. You make a lot of friends, and it's the same thing with craft beer culture, especially in Houston. A lot of the breweries we collaborate with, like No Label, out in Katy, they're big soccer guys too. So they're going to be a great spot to watch the World Cup out in Katy this summer. But we're all tight knit. We're not really competitors. We like to see everybody do well. And so if we're doing well, everyone else is doing well. The culture is alive. And I think people are looking for that great variety of craft beer still in this world. And so everyone that I know, everyone we collaborate with is super high quality beer and brewmasters. And but the culture is very much like soccer. So, I really like what you said there, that, you're all rooting for each other's success because you're all smaller businesses. You guys are putting your heart and soul into this. You are taking risks. There's no doubt about that. Sure.
So I love that. We need to adopt a little more of that in the soccer community. Maybe that would be a nice thing. We could, maybe we can make a secret potion beer, and then we can.
Yeah. I guess there's not a lot of rivalries in the craft beer world like there is in the soccer world, but there's no Barcelona, Real Madrid rivalry type things in the craft beer world. We all love everybody else. We want to see them all do very well. So it's a really great culture. And, we always have people that come into the brewery and they're brewery hopping for the weekend. They're going to different brew pubs around the region. And, they bring ideas from other places and we try that. So it's a great collaborative environment as well. So that's what we love about ourselves here. When you walk in, you're going to find every type of style you can find, and nothing old. Everything's brand new. Everything's fresh. And that's kind of why you stick with the small guys. Everything's fresh. Everything's done with passion. And you're not going to find the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I love that. By the way, I like the fact that we're on Tuesday nights because I get that Bulgogi Bowl.
Oh, the Bulgogi Bowl? Yeah, I do that too. That's a good one.
Listen, I've had a lot of
Tasty.
those. You guys are right up there with a lot of restaurants in the way.
Thank you very much.
Very, very, very good. How do you birth an idea for a specific beer? Is it seasonal? Is it, how do you come up with ideas? Just are you like a musician, and you're trying to
it just kind of sometimes it just comes to me. Sometimes I'm just out with friends at a brewery and another brewery or on a trip. I went to Greece recently. I've been to Spain recently. I go to Mexico quite a bit. So, we get to try different craft beers from around the world or around Houston, and something will be like, hey, that's a really great flavor. I'd love to deconstruct this. So, the fact that we're a small nano brewery, we do a small batches at a time, so we can experiment a little more. Adam, our brewer, he's very talented at sort of sampling beers and saying, hey, I think there's this in there. I think it's this in there. Maybe we try this out. And so, it's just one of those things, almost like a musician, as you said. It's just you may hear a song as you listen to the radio, and you like a couple of chords in a certain order, and you try to break it down. And it's the same thing with beer. You try something new, something comes across your table, and you find that's a really great style. We research it and try to do our best to collaborate with everybody else to figure out how they did it and how we can do it even better.
He's Andrew Mitcham. He's the owner of Senate Avenue Brewing. Let me just remind you, 16,000 Dillard. So if you're on 290, you just take the Senate Avenue exit. It's right there. It's really, really easy. It's easy if you're coming from the Galleria area or the Heights. It's very easy from my house. And I'm sure it's just as easy coming north to south. But we got a big show there, live radio this coming Tuesday. We're going to have a lot of giveaways. You wear a soccer jersey, no matter which one it is, you get a free craft beer. And let me tell you, the beer is amazing. I usually have one at the end of the night. I don't do it before going on the air. And we have a great time. There's a lot of collaboration. When we have commercial breaks, we're all talking amongst each other. And Brian McDonald, the producer, is yelling at me to get back behind the mic because the commercial's over. And it's just fun. It's loose. It's for like-minded people who love great craft beer, good food, and soccer on Tuesday night.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get you out there. We want to supporting Andrew and his business because he's putting it behind soccer as well. All right, so when are we doing the Soccer Matters beer?
Oh, man, anytime you want. We've been thinking about all the different styles that would probably do well, and I'm thinking something lighter, thinking something crisper.
Yeah.
Not too hoppy, just really kind of a crowd pleaser. Maybe a Kolsch or maybe even a Mexican lager, something really easy.
Ooh, nice.
But I, we sponsor a couple of soccer teams, a couple of adult leagues, teams that have won us some trophies actually. And so I always think about when they're done with their soccer games on Saturday or Sunday, they'll come to the brewery and they just want something light and crisp. So I'm thinking we stick with that.
All right. Well, what are we planning for a launch? What are you thinking? A little closer?
Definitely before the World Cup. Oh, yeah. I think we should have it on during the World Cup. So we have to come, if your audience wants to come up with a couple of names and message me on Instagram or Facebook with a couple of ideas for names, I'd be more than open to. That's probably the most fun part of beer is naming the beer.
And you know what we'll do? We'll get some people from different supporters groups, and they can be the first to sample the Soccer Matters.
That'd be awesome.
Beer.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be fun, actually.
Love to get that feedback. Yeah.
That would be fun. So we'll plan on doing that. All right, with World Cup 2026 coming to Houston, forget about the business side of it now. This is a once in a lifetime. You got a national team that's got a number of guys, a large percentage that have played in a World Cup. What are some of the things on your soccer mind when it comes to World Cup 2026?
I'm a U.S. men's national team fan. So I've just kind of been watching. I'm really excited about some of the friendlies coming up. It looks like they're not pulling any punches. They're doing some really, really difficult teams to get prepared for the World Cup. I think the group they're in is winnable. I think, we have a good shot of making the knockout rounds. So I'm really excited to see, with Pulisic having the injury recently, I'm a little nervous about that. He's definitely contributes, he's the headliner of the team and, team is better with him on it. So I'm a little nervous about that. Hopefully it gets better soon. But I think these friendlies are going to be very revealing coming up, and I'm going to be watching those very closely.
Yeah, and I think the push will be a little bit towards now getting into the tactics a little bit. So just
totally agree.
To punch what Andrew just said, you got Belgium in March. These are 3 great games to prepare for the World Cup. You got Portugal March 31st in Atlanta, and then June 6th, right before the World Cup, you get Germany and Chicago.
Germany. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things aligning here. You're a host country. You got high-level competition going into this. You're coming off playing some very good soccer. It's a roster that's been expanded. Everybody was, crying a river during the Gold Cup, and we found out the Gold Cup actually was very good for the U.S. in broadening out the roster and the emergence of players like Malik Tillman and others. Freeman, the right back, who now is
I was looking at Alex Freeman recently. I mean, he's doing a great job. That's going to be exciting to watch these younger guys. That's every World Cup is just everybody gets an opportunity in these friendlies to make the roster and just make an impact and then become a household name. So I'm excited.
So, by the way, are you ready to do a couple of welcome backs on the radio show live? Like, you're getting really good at it, by the way. For a guy who's only done it 2 or 3 times, I'm pretty impressed.
I love doing that. That's more so like the ad lib, getting to honor the culture and honor the people who show up to these live shows and see their faces. And it's a lot of fun. So it's a great show. You should definitely make a plan to come out this Tuesday. We'll try to do it a couple times for the World Cup too. So.
Yeah, and we're really open. I love meeting all the people that love soccer. I run into a lot of great
people really great
out there. And it's just wonderful that we're all kind of like-minded. We enjoy ourselves. We got some good debate. We have some real opinion that's by the way.
Yeah.
This is kind of rebel soccer talk. We're not holding back. We're telling the truth and whatever our truths are. So we've had some raw conversations, especially at the Dynamo with some of the supporters groups that show up, and it's been fun to get some different takes that maybe I don't have or maybe you don't have. So just listening to the people in the grassroots community is fantastic. I've learned over the years, the amount of years I've been doing this, I think I've been on the radio 22 years. I have always learned from the listener and the caller, and they've gotten me to look at things differently too, which
absolutely
makes it good. So that's been one of the great kind of benefits of the show. All right, so one more reminder. It's this Tuesday, the 10th, Soccer Matters Live, ESPN 97.5, Daspit Law Firm, coming from an amazing spot in Houston, Senate Avenue Brewing, 16,000 Dillard. What else you want to add to it, Andrew?
Yeah, we'll get started at 6 o'clock, but show up anytime. It's open house. You don't have to get here right on time. I know 6 o'clock is kind of hard for some people to make after work, but we're right off Highway 290. Wear your soccer jersey, get a free beer, get a handshake from me and Glenn, and we're going to have a great time.
Sounds good. Andrew, thank you so much. The mayor, is Andrew Mitcham. He is the top man at Senate Avenue Brewing, 16,000 Dillard in Jersey Village. We will see all of you there on Tuesday. Andrew, thanks for closing the show in big style tonight.
Thanks, Glenn. Always a pleasure.
All right, that's Andrew Mitcham. Again, the 10th, Tuesday. Come out to Senate Avenue Brewing. I got some T-shirts. I got hats. You get free craft beer. You're not walking away without something. And you're definitely going to get some of the best in soccer talk, self-proclaimed. All right, that does it tonight. Big thank you to Brian McDonald, everybody who tuned in here tonight. Podcast again, Apple, Spotify, also at ESPN975.com. You can also get it at YouTube Soccer Matters. I'll say it again, YouTube Soccer Matters. Go over there. Hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Davis, Sock at Soccer Matters GD. And until next Tuesday night, Senate Avenue Brewing, I'm Glenn Davis. Good night, everyone.